Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. First up, I think it's important to note right now that it's not all roses when it comes to Tesla's FSD version 12.3. Whole Mars had a bad drive with multiple different issues. These red lanterns were causing problems. It seemed like the beta thought they were a stop sign or a red light, so that was problem one. These flashing red lights that are coming up turned out to be a problem time after time. The beta would go forward a little bit, then stop, and then it would do this jerking back and forth and wasn't really sure what to do. There was also some hard stopping for both a yellow light and pedestrians, and a takeover to avoid going the wrong way or driving into the middle divider. The flashing red light problem is not just a one-off. We have EdgeCase on X also reporting difficulty of recognizing a flashing red light. But then Whole Mars also had over 2 hours of driving with 0 interventions. FSD Beta Test Pilot on X, an account that Elon retweeted yesterday, said this is the FSD version that people are actually going to use daily. I'm pumped for FSD like I haven't been in years. Tesla Scope is saying the 12.3 rollout is continuing as vehicles are getting it for the first time. It's still mostly in California, but there are a few other states on the list as well. All of them are out west: Oregon, Texas, Washington, Nevada, and 1 or 2 others. AI Driver shared a clip. 12.3 stops a little early to give mother and children more room. It's the small things like this that really add up. The mayor of Grünheide has shared an update on Tesla's new revised plans for expansion in Berlin. The new proposal would involve Tesla cutting significantly fewer trees than initially intended. I'm hearing it's about 50% of what they were going to cut down. The expansion will still focus on the new freight depot, given that significant volumes of traffic can be handled by rail, which will considerably reduce the volume of traffic on the roads. The employee-related facilities, like the kindergarten and some other service facilities, have been completely omitted. Additionally, the areas for storage and logistics will be significantly reduced in size. The protesters camping in the forest, they were supposed to be kicked out tonight, but their deadline has now been pushed to Thursday of next week, March 21st. So Tesla doing what it can to shrink its expansion footprint in Giga Berlin, but by the sounds of things, it should not be anything that will materially impact the production capacity in the future. There's a new feature in the Tesla app to easily connect your friends to a Tesla advisor and to start up a group chat. When you go to refer someone in the app, there's a new toggle switch saying connect friends to a Tesla advisor. When enabled, a group message will be created with you, your friend, and Tesla when you tap refer now. A Tesla advisor will reach out separately to assist your friend once they agree to be messaged. If anybody in your network is on the fence, maybe has some questions, now you have an easy way to rope them in. This picture was shared on Facebook. We have a Cybertruck towing around a trailer bed with a Model Y on it, sitting in a giant transparent box with the words "the best-selling car in the world is made in America" on it. Given the crazy levels of interest the Cybertruck generates anywhere it goes, this seems like a pretty decent marketing strategy.
It's easy right now to get negative. Look, they are going, we talk about day after earnings here, they're going through a white knuckle period. China demand's been soft, the margin story, the communication. But look, my view is on the other side of this will be a company on its way, 2.5, 3 million units when we look at the next few years. They will gain more share, the leverage will be there, and I believe ultimately numbers, EPS growth will start to come back up. So in the near term, it is easy to be negative on this. Our view is, look, we've been here before. The last decade, many times we've been in these white knuckle periods. To me, this is not the end of the growth story. I believe this is a growth story with AI, FSD, that's still going to have a significant piece on the horizon. But no doubt, in the near term, like when I have a positive note on Tesla, probably 30 emails within 10 minutes negative.
Well, I'm actually incredibly excited about the future of India. I think India has more promise than any large country in the world. He really cares about India because he's pushing us to make significant investments in India, which it is something that we intend to do. And we're just trying to figure out the right timing. I am a fan of Modi, so I have to say that.
Based on Elon's comments last year, it felt like a foregone conclusion. Tesla and India would work together. It was just a matter of timing and some negotiating in between. Today, that door has opened wide open, with India saying it will lower import taxes on certain EVs for companies committing to at least $500 million of investment in manufacturing facilities within 3 years. Companies that meet the investment in manufacturing requirements will be allowed to import a limited number of EVs at a lower tax of 15% on cars costing $35,000 and above. Remember, their previous import tax was between 70 and 100% depending on the cost. There's plenty of room for EV growth in this market. Electric models made up about 2% of total car sales in India in 2023. The government wants to increase that to 30% by 2030. The makeup of India's car market is a bit unconventional, but it is the world's third largest, and they're saying India has been working on this policy for several months, despite lobbying from the homegrown players, Tata Motors and Mahindra, which fear the lowering of import taxes on EVs would hurt the domestic industry. Under the new policy, which is effective immediately, EV imports at a lower tax rate will be allowed for a maximum of 5 years, and the total number will be capped at 8,000 per year. The investment commitment made by the company will have to be backed up by a bank guarantee, which will be invoked in case the company fails to comply with the policy's mandates. AKA, if a company starts importing vehicles into India, taking advantage of the reduced duties, but then that company fails to build a factory and spend the required money, India will still be compensated. It needs to be said, while this is great news and most likely exactly what Tesla has been wanting and asking now for months, this does not guarantee that Tesla will follow through with building a factory in India and or importing vehicles into the market right away. So far, this announcement from India is just them opening up the door. Now Tesla actually has to take the step through it. I'm a big believer in continually challenging yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and nutritionally. What I mean with the latter is every now and then introducing new nutrition profiles and maybe taking a break from certain other habits. Example, if you're dependent on coffee to function, then 1, you have a problem, and 2, it's most likely time to take a break. Mudwater, the sponsor of this video, can help you do exactly that. Their Rise cacao blend is 100% organic with no sugar and no sweeteners added. It has a fraction of the caffeine that coffee does, but it has other ingredients to boost focus and wakefulness, like lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, and turmeric. Mudwater is headquartered in Venice, California, an American company sourcing its mushrooms at an organic mushroom farm in Carlsbad, California. As I get older, I want to spend my money supporting American jobs. Mudwater does have products with 0 caffeine like the turmeric blend, and they have a blend for the evening as well to promote quality sleep. I've been asked about the taste. It's like a perfect mix of cacao and chai. I do enjoy it as it is, but they do have their own MCT oil creamer and a sweetener if that tickles your fancy. Mudwater is offering our Electrified community a special offer. If you go to mudwater.com/electrified, you can get started for $29. That's mudwtr.com/electrified. Enjoy. There's a new Tesla job posting, senior manager for Zero Service in Fremont, California. They're looking for somebody to lead the team responsible to identify and eliminate the reasons for our cars to require service. This has, of course, always been Tesla's goal. The best service is no service. They're just bolstering their efforts. A friendly reminder of the stark contrast between Tesla's strategy and the legacy dealership model that feeds on service. The candidate will work closely with hardware and software engineering, service engineering, quality and service programs, and field teams to prioritize, launch, and track demand reduction and efficiency efforts. Here we have a good video from a user on Reddit showing the Matrix LED fully operational headlights in a Model Y performance in the EU. You'll be able to see once this car clears the picture how the pixels then flow right behind it. And here's one more. This one might be even easier to see. Software Update 2024.8 brings some quality of life improvements. The turn signal indicators will go from being inside that green circle, which made it kind of tough to tell what direction, to strictly an arrow. Much easier to distinguish. Additionally, both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth now have their own dedicated menus in the car UI. Despite all of the headwinds for Tesla in Sweden with these sympathy strikes still going on, so far through Q1 in Sweden, Tesla is still the leading brand at a 21.4% market share, trailed by Volvo at 21.2%. In terms of cumulative Q1 registrations, Tesla is still leading the pack.
Well, you see this right here?
Yeah.
These kind of welds or whatever,
on this
these
side
are
too.
spot welds.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see that the spot weld's in there and it's got a little black line around it. That's about as perfect as you can get. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's going to be the hood. There's a structure inside the hood inner, and that's what you're looking at there. And so when you look at those, the first thing I do is I want to see if there's any squirt or squirm that's on these, and there's nothing. Okay, so when Tesla first brought out their cars, oh my God, didn't anybody ever clean these tips? Doesn't anybody know what a weld controller is? Now Tesla could give classes to BMW on how a weld should look, and that's the way it should look.
But it does feel like this product feels like the most mature product they've put to market. It feels very mature.
You're wrong.
Okay.
You have not driven the new Highlander. That's
mature.
Holy crap. That thing is fabulous. I love that truck, that car. I mean, I mean, the Model 3 is a good car. We had it for a long time and whatnot. Guess what? Sue, Cheryl, my CFO, but there were 4 of us that drove it around. Jordan.
Yeah.
We drove it around for a little while, and I looked at Cheryl. So Cheryl doesn't like to sit. She's very tight on money.
Yeah.
And I said, boy, this is really nice. And she said, when did you buy the Model 3? I don't know, must be 5 years ago. She looked at it and she said, that is what we need, and that's going to go.
Wow.
That's how much of a difference there was.
Wow.
I mean it sincerely. The thing is articulate. It's so accurate. I can't believe it. I mean it sincerely. It's the best sedan out there.
Wow.
They really did a bang up job.
Yeah.
Really big time. I like the Model 3 a lot. I think it's the best sedan on the planet right now. And the back seat seems to be a lot more comfortable.
Now we just need Panasonic to hurry up and spin up its new battery factory for Tesla in Kansas so that maybe the Model 3 can requalify for the IRA credits. Some fair questions are being asked when it comes to the $5 billion that was earmarked for the NEVI program for more charging. You may recall at the end of last year, the first stations from this program were actually opened in Ohio and New York, but it was only 8 charging stations. So 2 years after the announcement of this funding and at the end of last year, we had 8 stations to show for it. The problems with these programs continue to grow, delays in the delivery of chargers, concerns from states about labor contracting requirements and minimum operating standards for the chargers, and the fact that 22 states have not issued solicitations for NEVI funding. On that front, there was some speculation that not even Tesla's V4 superchargers should technically be qualifying for these NEVI funds. Rohan did chime in though, saying the updated guidance means that Tesla superchargers do meet the requirements. Happy to chat more on this, but the voltage output has to be within the specified range. We've been in touch with states and they understand the updated guidance and had been seeking clarification. Confusing, but I'm grateful that it has been clarified in a reasonable way. It looks like DC fast charging ports must support output voltages between 250 and 920 volts DC, with at least a continuous power supply of 150 kilowatts. So Tesla is still good to go for this NEVI funding, as we talked a few weeks back that Tesla was by far the biggest winner for these grants. There was a new study done by Atlas Public Policy comparing EV vehicles and total cost of ownership relative to their comparable ICE counterparts. As I think we can all agree, these studies can really only take us so far. Everybody's mileage is going to vary depending on where you live, your use case, and many other factors. Having said that, looking at the results for every different vehicle type category, whether it's sedan, pickup truck, compact SUV, there was a net savings for every single category, with the electric vehicle looking at a 7-year total cost of ownership. I don't think we need to dive in, as we've been over the total cost of ownership when it comes to electric vehicles multiple times, but it can be good to have these on hand, especially for people in your network that may not be familiar. So I'll have the full study linked below. Some people apparently do not care about getting blacklisted from buying Teslas in the future. We have another Cybertruck now up for sale on Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids. 7 days left, 11 bids so far, the highest $130,000. Tesla has finally settled a racist discrimination lawsuit, the one that was involving Owen Diaz. It went back and forth multiple times. Initially, a jury awarded $137 million in damages. Tesla then worked that down. Diaz said he didn't want that, and now they've reached a settlement. The parties have reached an amicable resolution of their disputes. The terms of the settlement are confidential, and we will not have additional comment. Tesla is still battling some separate racism lawsuits, but at least we have one down. Adam Jonas put out another mostly useless Tesla stock note, but he did say our industry discussions suggest Elon Musk is spending increasing amounts of time focused on Optimus. As if it wasn't obvious already, his message, prepare for the theme of humanoid robotics to potentially accelerate in the months and years ahead for a number of factors. Nio, which to date has really focused on higher-end electric vehicles, just said it plans to reveal a mass market brand in May called Leidao. The brand will make its debut in Q2 with the first product launch in the third quarter and then large-scale deliveries the following quarter. This should be interesting as Nio selling more premium vehicles in 2023 still recorded a loss of about $3 billion. We heard yesterday Nissan and Honda might be working together to build EVs. Then today they signed a memorandum of understanding. Under this MOU, they will begin a feasibility study of a strategic partnership in the fields of vehicle electrification and intelligence. The scope of the feasibility study includes automotive software platforms, core components related to EVs, and complementary products. Data from S&P Global, EVs captured 7.8% of new US light vehicle registrations in January compared with 7.1% in January last year. Tesla registrations increased 15% in January to 48.8 thousand, capturing 54.8% of the EV segment. In January last year, Tesla was at 54.6%, effectively the same. Looking at the chart for new EV registrations in January in the US, Ford was in a distant second to Tesla with 5.4 thousand, Chevy in third at 4.4 thousand. They were followed closely by Hyundai, Rivian, and Kia. Cox Automotive did its survey checking in on dealers, and the sentiment around electric vehicles is still very negative, to the surprise of no one. They surveyed over 1,000 dealers, and they said you have to hunt to find the dealer that's optimistic about the EV market growing. Their negative attitudes are reflective of slowing growth. We all know what's really going on here. These dealers are being asked to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to set up for EVs, but then the OEMs are struggling to actually ship any desirable EVs for the dealers to sell. Most of the heavy hitters for these legacy OEMs that were supposed to come to market have been delayed for weeks, if not months. Then you layer in dealer employees not wanting to learn an entirely new technology, dealerships not wanting to sell vehicles that will require much less service, and then all of these negative attitudes make sense. One Honda dealer said the early adopter audience is exhausted and it's a tough sell to the general car buyer in many of our markets. Prices are too high for the inconveniences presented by switching to EV. I'd be curious as to what specific inconveniences this dealer is referring to. We have local news in Indianapolis reporting a Marion County jury has ruled that Tesla and Kyle Kazuba, one of Tesla's employees, are required to pay more than $60.6 million in damages, this in relation to an April 2017 accident. The award was for Tesla and Kazuba for negligently broadsiding a motorcyclist named Chris Dugan in April 2017. The article did not say to what extent and or why Tesla would be involved in this accident where an employee was apparently driving the vehicle. There was no mention of autopilot or FSD in the article. Hertz is replacing its CEO reportedly after its EV debacle, saying they were going to buy a bunch and then unwinding that program months later. They're saying Steven Scher, the former CEO, has decided to step down. He'll be replaced with the former chief operating officer of GM's Cruise. Let's not forget, West was one of 9 Cruise executives that was dismissed last year after being accused of withholding information about that Cruise accident with the pedestrian. Tesla dropped a 15-minute video about those 2 pre-production Cybertrucks that drove from San Diego to Los Cabos in order to push the limits and break things along the way.
All right, now cut it right. Yep. Your back tire is going to drop in the ditch, and you're good.
We're trying to make sure that these trucks are really prepared for the off-road use cases. that we expect our customers to use them in.
You could be going straight from sandy track, straight to pretty rocky stuff, straight to like a water crossing. It's impossible to predict in one way, and we kind of have to be ready for that. This is the best real world testing that exists.
The Chinese government is quietly asking EV makers like BYD and Geely to sharply increase their purchases from local auto chip makers. This part of a campaign to reduce reliance on Western imports and boost China's domestic semiconductor industry. The ministry is now directly instructing firms to avoid foreign semiconductors if at all possible. Companies like BYD and Nio are pretty reliant on Nvidia for their semiconductors, so we'll see how restrictive the Chinese government wants to be here. We've talked about how Giga Berlin employees will be voting next week for its Works Council for the next 2 years. Over the past 2 years, a smaller Works Council has been able to accomplish up to 18% pay increases, improvements in health and safety, and other perks like free bus rides and bike sharing. IG Metall, however, is looking for a majority on the Works Council to gain a bigger influence. To do so, they're putting forward 106 candidates for the election. The current head of the Works Council said all of the aforementioned successes were achieved without the union or a collective bargaining agreement. Quickly, easily, and customized to Giga Berlin, there is no need for external influences. The election will be March 18th to the 20th. Tesla stock closed the day at $163.57, up 0.66%, while the Nasdaq was down 0.96%. It was an average volume day for Tesla, trading about 5 million shares below the average 30-day volume. Tesla stock was down 9.9% for the week and is down 34.6% year to date. I'll leave you with this to hopefully ease some of the pain that some of you may be experiencing.
You know, I think it's just important to remember that the economy moves in cycles, and we've had a very long period of upcycle. The next 12 months will be, I think, difficult for everyone. It's also important to remember that, you know, there are good times and there are dark times, but then the good times follow the dark times. So my advice would be, don't look at the markets for the next 12 months. If there's a dip, buy the dip. And I think you will not be sorry, because there's just generally a sort of there's an economic cycle to things, but things come back up. So my guess is tough times for a year. Like I said, just my guess. But then Tesla will emerge stronger than ever. And the long term, if you say like net present value of future cash flows, will be incredible in my opinion.
Don't forget, check out Mudwater, linked below if you're interested. Hope you guys have a wonderful and a safe weekend. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X, linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.